You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
Cycle 66 Cycling Tour and Festival coming to Edmond via Route 66. The inaugural 2021 bike ride highlights historic Route 66 in downtown Edmond while benefiting multiple charitable causes. For more information, go to www.cycle66ok.com. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, your host, back with another episode up in Edmond today with Visit Edmond to talk about some amazing events that we have coming up, especially one that's coming this week. Huge shout out to Owl's Bicycles for hosting us. If you're watching the video, you can see we have a great background. The guys are busy. There's usually a lot more bikes in here at the moment, as you can imagine, due to COVID. People are getting out on their bikes, which is great. But yeah, huge shout out to them. And obviously the reason we're here today is to talk about Cycle 66, an event that's coming up, Route 66 birthday soon. And yeah, the whole kind of love of cycling in Edmond and new bike paths and stuff like that. So with me today, I have Jason, Duncan, and Mike Osburn. Gents, thanks for joining us. I know, Jason, you're an avid cyclist. Mike, you like to make events, I guess, and host events.
That's right.
You haven't been hooked to the bike way yet. I'm sure there's a reason. We'll get into that. But before we get into some of the stuff, give us a little bit of context. How did you get to Edmond? Are you born and raised here? And I guess what's your kind of affiliation to Edmond, stuff like that?
Well, I am. I've grown up all my life in Oklahoma. Grew up in Tahlequah, actually, which is out in northeastern Oklahoma. And I came to Edmond to go to college at Oklahoma Christian University. It was actually Oklahoma Christian College when I went, or when I started. It changed to Oklahoma Christian University after I got there. But moved here in 1986. Stayed here for several years. Graduated from here. Went to OU Law School. So moved out of Edmond for a little while. Lived in Norman and then Oklahoma City for a bit, and then got married, and my wife and I loved the area, so we moved back here in 2004. So
nice.
Yeah, it's been.
Yeah.
We love the community. We love being around. So it's a fantastic thing for us.
Yeah.
Sure.
Jason, what about you?
Yeah, so I did grow up in Edmond, kind of on the fringe of Edmond and Oklahoma City. Went to school at Oakdale Schools for kindergarten through 8th grade, so people familiar with that. I got 30 kids I hung out with for the first 9 years of my life. Went to Edmond Memorial, left after that for a few years, and then ended up moving back to Oklahoma City in 2008 and back to Edmond in 2011. So been here for a while, kind of trying to navigate what it is that we do, and with I was a part of a coffee company, and we moved from our offices in Oklahoma City in the Plaza to downtown Edmond in 2011, and launched that in 2012, and since then been finding myself in downtown Edmond, and kind of the center hub of everything that we do is there. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Where does the love of cycling come from and biking for you?
Yeah, so I started riding bikes with my dad probably when I was 10. And he had just started mountain biking, and so we would, at that point we had Arcadia Lake, which is, obviously grown and expanded since that time, but doing that and riding around little trails around our house. We lived on 122nd, which is on the south side of Edmond, so lots of kind of more open space that we could ride around on, and that's kind of how it started. Spent a lot of time in Colorado as well growing up, and being able to ride there, and just kind of started to realize there's a lot of freedom on the bike that you can't get, and it's that thing that I feel like is a common denominator for a lot of things, is that the smile is the same no matter what part of life you're in, and that was always important. So I've had my ups and downs. Our coffee company did sponsor a local team across all categories. So we have had a foot in there, and bicycle touring and bike packing and all the other things that happen have always been kind of interest of mine, and So,
it's something you can do from all ages, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's accessible. And I think there's not a lot of things that are 100% accessible, and there's a bike for everyone. And we say that and everyone's like, oh yeah, but I'm whatever. I'm not fit or I'm not in shape. It's like, it doesn't matter.
You can buy an electric one if you need it.
Yeah, we can find. You want to ride a bike? We'll find you one.
Yeah.
And we'll take you on a ride, and you'll absolutely love it. So that's kind of been what we've been doing ever since. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you guys, Mike, you come from the event planning side of things.
That's right.
I guess, how do you get into event planning, and then what is the idea of the event that we have? It's coming up soon.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there, but I'll start out by saying that, so in 2006, I formed my company called Polygram. Mm-hmm. And I started out as more of an association management firm. I wanted to manage associations. That's a big deal in like Washington, D.C., where people can't really hire executive directors, so they contract with a firm to do that. And that was the original intent. But several years later, I decided to add the event management portion to my company, and so I actually did a little franchise agreement with some folks called Plan Ahead Events, and we did that. Then that company kind of went away, and so but we've kept the event management, and to be honest with you, the reason why I like it. And it's been a little bit of a challenge with COVID, but our motto for my company is better together, and I feel like the world loves community, and loves events like that bring people together, and so that's been our focus. That's what we want. That's what we want to try to do, is to really build events that bring communities together, and that's honestly how this whole thing started. It was it was interesting. Sort of right after I added that portion of it to my business, we started thinking about doing a Sturgis type motorcycle rally here in Oklahoma, and it would be all along Route 66, because Oklahoma does have the most drivable miles of Route 66 in the country. So we decided that we were going to do that, and we had the plans, and it was all everywhere. I mean, we were going to use Oklahoma City as the hub, or as a hub, and Tulsa as a hub, and have people riding out on Route 66 and spokes out, in different directions, and planning on doing little one-off events in the cities and communities all along Route 66. We worked on that for several years, and then and it was kind of hard to sell, because it was it was an enormous undertaking.
Oh, it's huge,
right? And so it was hard to find.
It's a big deal,
right? So then, as some know, I was approached to run for office, and I ran for the state house here in Edmond. And when I did that, I kind of just put that idea on the back burner and let that go for a little while. So I focused on the legislative thing for several years, and then Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell gets elected, and the first thing he starts doing is talking about Route 66, and he brings that up. So, and he wants to connect Oklahoma to Route 66, which is exactly what we should be doing. And if you look at any of the marketing stuff from Oklahoma, what you find is the Route 66 emblem is on that stuff. I mean, any of the marketing stuff. So he's renewed that. So I took that Sturgis idea to him, and he said, "Yeah, that's a good idea, but why don't you, think a little smaller, and do something more around the health, around health.
Yeah.
And he said, cycling's huge. It's growing here in Oklahoma. There's the Tulsa Tough. There's the, all these other rides, freewheel, and all the stuff that goes on with that. And I said, that sounds like a great idea. So the next step, interestingly, it was kind of an accident, but the next step was to meet with Jennifer Seaton at Visit Edmond. We pitched the idea to her. She loved it. And then, we just started trying to put together a group of people who we felt like could help us, get this thing off the ground.
Yeah.
And that's where I met Jason. We I didn't know him before, although I knew Evoke. He has many of my dollars, but
totally worth it.
But we started talking about this literally over a year ago.
Yeah.
Started talking about putting it together, and had our initial meeting. Obviously we thought things were going to gear up this year, and we can get into this a little bit later, but obviously COVID has created a deal, so we've actually moved the inaugural event not from this November to next November.
Gotcha.
So we're gonna fire that up here in a little bit.
And also we're recording a little before this, but the day that this goes out is going to be the birthday of Route 66, November the 11th. And I think for someone from my perspective, like being an international, there's so many people come from all over the world to drive Route 66, and we just take it for granted being here. Like it's this huge powerhouse.
Exactly right.
It's this amazing thing that brings people from all around the world. And I remember the first time I came to the States, and my university, SNU, was on Route 66.
Absolutely.
And one morning, I just saw 50, 60 bikes drive past with all Scandinavian flags. I'm like, what are you guys doing here? Oh, Route 66. And it's like a tiny little town like Bethany. There's a giant parade going through the town, right, for 15 minutes. All these bikes going through.
Right.
And, you're bringing dollars from all around the world to Route 66 to Oklahoma. And it makes total sense to have an event like this with cycling as well.
It's arguably the most famous road in the world.
Yeah.
And you could talk about Highway 10 or Highway 1 that goes up and down, but
Route 66 is known worldwide.
Is literally, for years it's been the most recognizable.
I think there's a whole culture behind a road like 66.
Yeah.
It's not just, we still have spots, and we don't right here. There's only a short amount in central Oklahoma that's original pavement, concrete.
Yeah.
But to be able, if we're looking at the state as a whole, and kind of the idea of this event, I think is obviously to talk about our section, but also to spread the word about what this could be border to border, and to be able to ride. There's a connection to the sightseeing and this adventure that's different when you're pedaling it. We rode from Elk City to Joplin a few summers ago on 66, and to be on the original pavement, to watch out for the original curbs, to see original service stations, and to jump in. And when you're on a bike, you're not in a hurry.
You don't miss anything.
So you're going to stop in. So be able to stop in and knock on those doors and talk to people that are seeing everyone that's driving it and riding it and cycling and all those things. There's something about the culture behind it that is inescapable if you allow yourself one chance to breathe it in. And I think even if you don't know or don't think that that's in your bag, or that you may not have interest, you will. And I think and I was the same way. I didn't want to take a tour of 500 people down Route 66. It was terrifying.
Right.
But after 3 hours on the first day, I knew it was right, and that's exactly what is supposed to happen.
This is actually, you just heard it. That's exactly why he's involved in this event, because he gets it, and because it's about cycling, and that's true, and that's actually why we love having Jason around, is because he can speak that language, and hopefully we will here in a little bit. But also, he gets the point that this is about connecting Edmond and Oklahoma City and Luther and Jones and Arcadia and Route 66 and all the people there and all the businesses along it and all the businesses around it, and it's and all the people, you know, and highlighting all that stuff. And I'm just really excited for this to kick off.
Yeah, you're right. It's such a special thing, and you know, when you every town along Route 66 needs something like this. Like the one that comes, I mean, I don't go to Elk City for anything, but if I do go to Elk City, I'm thinking of, is it Harley that has that, the old man that has that Route 66 stop in, crazy guy in like overalls or whatever. I think his name's Harley. That's what I think of, right? And you look on social media and you type in Elk City and he's the first thing that comes up when you search on Instagram and stuff. And there's all these spots along Route 66 and you need 2 or 3 in each town that draw people in, right? Whether it's a giant, you know, a giant round barn, or if it's the gas station, or if it's a huge Route 66 sign that people want to take pictures in front of. Whatever it is, you need to draw those people in.
Absolutely.
And regardless if they're cycling, driving by, or whatever, but when you're right, Jason, when you're cycling, everything's a lot slower. You take in so much more. You remember those, and you go through towns a lot slower.
Yeah, and I there's a few sections and a few towns that have that 66 becomes major thoroughfare, and I think we drive that every day. You know, up and down 2nd Street is Route 66, original Route 66. And speaking Edmond specific, how many times have I driven down that road to meetings and to Target and to Lowe's and all the things are back and forth. I've ridden that section several times on a bike, and even riding that section on a bike is different if you're remembering what you're riding. And I think there's, you know, we can talk about the railroad had the same effect. You know, there's reasons why Edmond is here is because of the stop. I think, you know, Route 66 has provided that lifeline and that DNA for a lot of communities up and down. And it isn't necessarily front doors on the pavement. It is what's the effect and the halo effect of having 66 come through your town, if it's Luther or if it's, you know, any of the other spots up and down in Oklahoma.
It's a huge deal, you know, worldwide impact and everything. Like if you mention Route 66 to anybody in any country, they're probably going to know what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
And just the impact that it has to Edmond specifically and all the other towns. But I think stuff like this is just going to be a constant reminder of people how special this is, because we always forget, we always take things for granted. You know, it's, oh cool, it's Route 66, and some people might not even know that it's right down 2nd Street, right? And little things like that. But tying that in, you know, to people traveling, vacation, and riding bikes, like cycling is just important for many reasons. You know, getting out, mental health, whatever, you know, exercising, regardless, like we said earlier, regardless of your age. You know, family bike rides, even if it's around Arcadia or down Arcadia for a couple of miles and you turn around and come back. You don't have to go the full, 13, 14 miles or whatever it is. You don't have to do the full loop. But it's just getting out, isn't it, and being free, and that feeling of just riding a bike.
Absolutely.
In amazing fall weather right now.
I mean, can't beat what's outside right now. And you know, I think maybe one of the few bright sides to the world that we're all living in right now is the accessibility to being outside, and
that's the truth.
And it's something to celebrate, honestly. And I think it's okay to feel happy in that space, because it's definitely a spot that, for at least the time being while you're out there, the rest of that kind of stress and pressure can be subdued a bit.
So the city's doing big things. They're connecting a lot of different spots now, making it more accessible, and you can ride from, you know, it's just much safer to ride from certain spots to others. You're not like scared driving for 2 miles on the road. And so how, you know, from your perspective as an avid cyclist and you know, a family man and everything like that, how has that been for you and for everyone listening? How can, you know, people who don't know about this stuff?
And I think that's the exciting thing. It's we fight a lot of these stereotypes in Edmond, a lot, and I think there's a lot to be excited about. And I don't know how many times I've had this conversation. It's probably been 1,000, but the great thing is it's like every week there's something else to be excited about, and we can, you know, I think what I've come to recognize over the past 5, 6, 7 years of being, you know, trying to put myself in the middle of all of it is, it's great to celebrate these small instances and to embrace all of them. And even though it may not be 100 miles of protected bike infrastructure on the street, as far as like bike lanes and all these sorts of things, we do have them now. And this is non-existent in Edmond 10 years ago. And so what we found is that the city is investing the time and effort to figure out what needs to happen in the long-term plans to make alternative transportation accessible, so that we're not just a car-centric community. And so because of that, we created these bike lanes, and we have these, so a small bike lane, but we have now an infrastructure that basically from Mitch Park to Arcadia is nearly connected. And I think what we're finding now is that we would want to tell people about that. Where are those trails? It's a big infrastructure. It costs a lot of money to build 18-foot wide side paths.
Yeah.
That's not little things. And so to have the city willing to talk about that on a city level, to me is something that should be applauded and also, as a community member, till we keep on it so that we can continue to see this kind of progress. Obviously, our big kind of focal point right now is that Arcadia relationship, how we get these trails. And I think, there's a lot of users that use them, a lot of different users. How do we create a table and a win and a collaboration where it says, hey, we can get trail runners and mountain bikers and hikers and equestrian, and we can get families, and we can get walkers, and we can get all these people to interact with this outside that we have. And so to be able to ride from Mitch Park, all the way to Arcadia, and then at some point around the entire lake would create one of the top, I don't know what Tulsa's numbers are. I know they're huge with their river trails and all that, but to be able to create that infrastructure would put us in the upper tier of facility in any town or city in Oklahoma. And the chance to, and the conversation's been had over the past 10 years, how do we connect the fringe of our system with the fringe of Oklahoma City? And I think that will be the next conversation that happens. And to me, that's, there's a lot of collaboration that would have to happen to make that work. And there's going to be a lot of collaboration between cities, a collaboration between public and private. And I think, but that's the conversation that we're having.
Yeah.
So to be able to,
it could totally happen.
Yeah. So to be able to live in central Edmond, Edmond core, downtown Edmond, however you want to describe that. And my 3 and 7 and 10-year-old can jump on their bikes, and we can ride down to the park and hang out. We can ride to dinner. We can turn around and ride back. We can get ice cream and pizza and coffee and walk to the grocery store. All those things. That's the same infrastructure. And that's a big deal because most people don't know that that's accessible. Right. And I think there's some of that's a willingness and an association to that, but some of it is the unknown. And if people don't know about it, they aren't going to utilize it. Yeah. And I go back a lot to when we travel, we talk about, oh man, we loved, was at Seaside, we loved Cotton Landing, we loved all this stuff, and we start talking about why. Oh man, we got to ride our scooter down, and we got to
ride the bikes.
We got to be in the park, and we got to walk here, and man, I didn't have to drive for 3 days, and it's like, hey, I haven't driven my car in 7 days, and I live in downtown Edmond. And we can celebrate those things that we love about our vacation time. We can celebrate that right here in our community. And this is similar to Oklahoma City. I lived the same sort of like connection when I lived in downtown Oklahoma City as well. And I think this is not necessarily Edmond specific, but we have a lot to tell people about in Edmond. I had a chance to be on the Edmond Bicycle Committee for several years and still participate a little bit. And, there's a lot of people working really hard to create that accessibility. It's how I met Henry Owls, and it's how I met a lot of people. And I know that there is a desire from city staff to figure out how we make this safer and better. And I think this event, we're going to get to highlight, not for all of our riders, but for a chunk of our riders, we're going to provide a shorter route that's going to allow people to see that. And then while they're doing that, see all the other things that have nothing to do with cycling that Edmond is doing. I think that's important as well, because that's why we ride.
Yeah. You bet. Yeah, it's bringing people around. So this event, tell us about the event.
So this is it's a combination urban-rural cycling event. It's not a race, at least not yet. That was a decision that our steering committee sort of made back. It's we're not. I don't think we're ready to race just yet. But this is I think you all call it a t-shirt ride.
Yeah, t-shirt.
Like a 5K run,
right?
Yeah. Right. The bike style.
But we are.
Bicycle tour.
There are three different routes that we're going to take. There's a 10-mile sort of a family loop that we're going to have that will be sort of in the downtown Edmond area. Then there's going to be a more intermediate 33-mile loop that goes down around the Capitol building, down around OU Medicine, down that way, and then back. And then we will have the mother of them all. That's the 66-mile ride. See what we did there?
Yeah.
Cycle 66.
Nice touch.
So it's it's very exciting. I think I literally have not had one person say, I don't think that's a good idea. Everybody, as soon as I tell them about it, they're excited about it. They think it's an awesome idea. But it begins, all the routes begin and end in downtown Edmond. We're hopeful by then that COVID will be a thing of the past, and that we will have a nice downtown festival surrounding that too, where people can stick around and have themselves a soft taco or a beverage of some sort, and just hang out and be in community, as I mentioned earlier. So it's been quite a planning process, and I did not expect for it to be quite this long for the planning process. That's thanks COVID, kind of thing. But now that I'm looking back on it, I think it's good actually that we have a little extra time, so that we can make sure that this inaugural event is really something. And I think we're starting this off right. So next week, actually, when this airs, will be our actual kickoff of this event. And we're going to unveil the website. We're going to unveil the images, all the marketing stuff. We will unveil that. We will, we'll do some announcements around, and we're very excited about that. We're putting the final touches on the website, and we've got the logos ready to go, and we're real excited about that. So we will launch that. The website will be out there. People will be able to get on there and sign up to stay in the loop, so that when information comes out, they can get an email blast about that. Then in May, I believe it's May 15th. Is that the day I can't remember. Anyway, May 16th. May 16th, we are doing. We're going to do a kickoff party, and hopefully again that's going to be more of a community event, kind of downtown. We will then unveil the routes and let people know what those look like. We will have some merchandise available for sale, and then have the actual inaugural ride on November the 7th of 2021,
which will be the birthday,
almost
the day
1
before,
year,
2 days before the birthday of 66.
That's right.
Which Edmond does community events very, 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 very well, and the city and everybody that's private business owners, everyone understands, everyone just gets behind it, and you don't get that in many places. That's really special.
We're very blessed.
Regardless if it's cycling, it could be anything else, but with cycling, and I love the fact that you have 3 different routes for all different cyclists, and maybe in the future we'll have a race and it might be 100 miles, whatever it is. But, it's just having that ability to, you're catering to everybody.
You bet.
You're catering to grandparents and their grandkids, or the elite cyclist who wants to go out and blister and pays $15,000 for his bike and has crazy carbon wheels or whatever, and dresses like a Power Ranger, like we all do. Those people who are listening are cyclists know exactly what I'm talking about, and there's obviously a reason that we dress like that. But it's awesome, and the event's going to be great. No doubt that people are going to come from all over the metro to be involved. The bike community, even though it spans quite a big area, it's still a tight-knit, small community. We all know each other. Al's here, they do great business with everybody else, all the other cycle shops. They all come together because, with COVID and everything that's happening, everyone's affected, and no doubt they've all come together. And in the Oklahoma way, right? That's just kind of how business is done here. We all treat each other well. We all hang out, and the common goal and the common good is to bring people to the cities and bring people to Edmond and be able to ride your bike. Is back to our point earlier. It's that freedom of getting out.
Just gives us all a chance to be kids again.
Yeah.
I know that gets said a lot, and it sounds cliche, but it's just the truth. I mean, a lot of guys I follow talk about this idea of mood follows action. And if we can get ourselves out there even together, which is obviously the goal of this, there's a change and things can happen in that space. And I think that's the exciting part. You know, we're not introducing brand new roads to anybody with this event. You know, we're not the first big group ride, like, you know, that's been planned. In fact, Edmond has another great one as well in the streak and the Red Bull Classic and all these other things that we have. But what I hope when we're designing these is that we're putting roads together that maybe aren't ridden together. Yeah. That they're familiar enough that we can slow down just a bit and actually like look up and see what we're riding next to and riding by. And then hopefully within the group we can, you know, experience something maybe we hadn't experienced on those roads before. That you don't get maybe the first time you're riding them, and you don't get if it's every Saturday you're on some of these roads and you're, you know, head down and trying to get the fitness part. But hopefully that together there's the ability to actually like take something away that may be different than a normal Saturday or Sunday in this case. So
something that he mentioned, this is maybe not necessarily for the avid cyclist or the runners or whoever, but I mean, right now we all need mood enhancement. Yeah. You know, and you just feel better when you're exercising. You just act better. You're better when you're exercising. And trust me, I can go for some spanses of time without exercising, and I notice it. Yeah. I feel it. I notice that I'm crankier. Yeah. Being cooped up inside, you need that fresh air. You need to get out. Yeah. Regardless if it's freezing cold or nice. And that was actually kind of one of the bonuses of COVID. Yeah. I mean, we would go out and people that you never see out were walking their dogs and, you know, walking through the Hafer Park and doing their thing. And, you know, it was just it was, you know, if there's going to be a good thing that came out of that, totally maybe it's this love of cycling that has started, you know, because I mean, we're here in Al's Bicycles and these are all owned by somebody. Yeah. If you go out in the showroom, there's usually 400 bikes out there, but there's, you know, 12 today because you can't get them. They need to come here and buy. They need to come here and buy. We'll come here and order in time for next year's race, next year's event. They'll get you ready. They'll be ready by next year. So awesome. Well, you know, the website you mentioned is cycle66ok.com, and that'll be live. Tell us, you know, there's obviously a lot more people involved than just this, right? You know, you've been busy, and it's not just community that comes together. It also needs private events and private sponsors. So who else has been involved in that stuff? Well, it's interesting that you asked that, because it's we wanted to start this thing. A lot of these events, they're kind of organic and they start, but when you have this idea and need to get going, you have to have some seed money from somewhere. We were honored to have OU Medicine sign up with us immediately to be the initial sponsor of this, to provide the seed money for it. And honestly, we couldn't even be as far along as we are without having them, and so we're thrilled to partner with them. So the way this is set up is we have it's a 501c3 organization, and so it's going to be a fundraiser, so after the event, whatever proceeds are there, we will take a portion of that, and a portion of it will go to the Oklahoma Route 66 Association. The other portion of it will go to OU Medicine Edmond, and there's a group there called Autumn Life Behavioral Health Center, and they are very involved in the community, but they want we're going to be benefiting them here for at least a couple of years. So awesome. We're excited about the partnership, very appreciative of their sponsorship, and looking forward to a long-term relationship. Awesome. Well, gents, this has been great. I'm really excited to see the website go live, see the events. The branding's great. Everyone watching the video to this podcast will see everything, you know, the new logo and everything, and go to the website. It's in the description below. But Mike and Jason, thanks so much for taking the time out. Al's Bicycles, thanks for having us and letting us take up your back room for a little bit, and then obviously visit Edmond for partnering on this great event.
event, and then Governor Pennell as well for seeing a lot of great things happen, and just the vision that he has to put time and money into this and bring people to Route 66 and all that kind of stuff. So thanks for everyone listening. We'll catch you next episode. Cheers. Cycle 66 Cycling Tour and Festival coming to Edmond via Route 66. The inaugural 2021 bike ride highlights historic Route 66 in downtown Edmond while benefiting multiple charitable causes. For more information, go to www.cycle66ok.com.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.